Good evening. Welcome to Cask Talk. I'm Paul. This is Dave. I am a beer enthusiast and drinker, and I like to experiment with new things. Dave here is a certified beer judge and a home brewer, so he's kind of the brains of the operation. Anyway, today we are doing Jeremiah Johnson Brewing Company Blonde Ale. And just to give you a little bit of background, we are in Phoenix, and this beer is not actually available in Phoenix. And a little while ago, I was up in Utah, and we made the trip over to Wyoming, where I found it at one of the liquor stores in one of the towns over there. I am actually looking a lot forward to this because I personally really enjoy blonde ales, and the blue light is coming through on that one, but it's good enough. And we did not find a whole lot on this company online short of their website. They were, where are they? They're from Great Falls, Montana, and they're really not available in that many states. I think there's like, what, 7 maybe you can get their beer?
Yeah, and it all seems to be up in that same area, that like Utah, Montana,
Well, there is Indiana and
Wyoming.
Ohio, too.
Okay, yeah.
But most of it's up there, Nevada, Utah, Wyoming, Washington. So
I like these small kind of breweries like this. I also really like their logo there. You see, it's a guy with a beard. It just says microbrewery to me.
yep. And the other thing too is, being here in Phoenix, we see a lot of IPAs. Oh my gosh, it's disgusting the number of IPAs. Some of them are really good. Dave here doesn't really care for IPAs, but when I was up there in Wyoming, I saw a lot of beers that weren't IPAs. So, going to be several of our next shows actually is non-IPA stuff that I found up there that you can't necessarily get here in Phoenix. And I just thought it was a great opportunity to stretch out and try some other stuff from other parts of the country.
Yeah, and I think I don't hide it at all that I'm not a huge fan of IPAs, and it's not that they're bad beers because there's very few beers that I would consider bad. It just there's so much variety of different kinds of beers that you could have, and IPAs when there's an abundance of them, I just get tired of them really quick, and I also find it to be.
I like IPAs, and to be honest, there's just a lot of flavor in a lot of other beers that is just sorely lacking in IPAs.
Yeah, so I think one of the things with IPAs is that not to say that it's creating flavor in a lazy way, but to me it's one of those kind of things where it's really easy to create flavor because you just buy the hop, someone else grew it to a certain kind of standard, it creates a flavor profile, you throw it in, you end up with that beer. And it really overwhelms everything else in the beer when it comes to the mouthfeel and when it comes to the sweetness or the caramelization or
They just
malty
lack
characters
like
and
fullness and flavor. I like IPAs, so don't make it sound like I'm bagging on them. They just lack a certain fullness of flavor on the back end and what have you. But today we are doing this lovely blonde. This is a gorgeous beer, actually.
yeah,
I really do like it. It has
really
a nice head to
clear.
it.
It's got
Nice
a
thick head.
great level of carbonation. You can kind of see the bubbles coming up in there. So when you got a glass sitting there, it's almost like champagne. Sitting there, you can see the bubbles coming up. Nice little head on it.
Yeah.
Very pleasant flavor or smell.
It's got some vanilla notes in there.
Yeah.
More vanilla than I expected, to be honest.
Has that malty smell, but a very light pilsnery type malty smell.
And it touches citrus.
A little bit. One of the challenges.
That's good.
Yeah, it is. My initial impression is really good with this. One of the challenges with brewing a blonde is the blonde general recipe is pretty light. You don't have a lot of things you can hide behind. So if you're brewing an IPA, you can hide behind those hops. They'll cover up a lot of mistakes.
Same with the stouts too.
Yeah, same thing with the stouts and a lot of others that are like super malty. But a blonde is a little malty with a little bit of hops, with a light color, and any kind of mistakes in there really get shown. One of the things that we did in one of my beer clubs is we took a blonde ale that was brewed in an amount that we all could kind of spread it out, and we used different kinds of yeast so that we could really demonstrate the different impacts the different types of yeast would perform on the same beer that was brewed across the way. And the reason why we chose the blonde ale was it's that kind of beer where
You can't hide it.
you can't hide it.
No.
You're gonna taste the difference between you chose this yeast versus this yeast, and it created a whole different kind of beer. This I like it.
Yeah, Jeremiah Johnson, why aren't you guys available in Phoenix? Because this is very pleasant. I like this beer a lot.
Yeah,
I
really
could drink,
good.
I could drink this beer all night. This is one of those beers I could just, I'm out at a pub or a bar, and I wouldn't change.
Mm-hmm. It's a lightness to it, and that might be even some of the wheat that's in there.
It's crisp.
It has just a little bit of bittering that you can kind of taste in the back of your mouth.
Yeah, this is 30 IBU and 5.4% alcohol, according to the can here. 5.4.
Yep. So it's not overly sweet. It's not overly bitter. It's got some good character to it, maybe from like a Munich malt. A little
It
bit of
tastes
maybe
like there's
caramel.
maybe some kind of spice in there.
The spice could be the Saaz.
Okay.
So I think that we saw that they use Saaz hops.
Yeah,
And
pearl and sauce.
The Saaz can come across spicy.
Yeah, they do have. I found on their website they do use for fermentables. They have what is it? Munich caramel, white wheat, and Montana brewed.
Two row.
2-row. That's right.
Yeah.
2-row, and then they have a Montana. Crap! It didn't get written down here. Oh well.
Yeah,
You
I think
can
it's
find it on
brewed.
their website.
It's brewed up in Montana. I think it's the 2-row is from Montana, if I remember correctly. And 2-row is kind of a base, a good beer base. So, so if they have a really good base going, that's good.
No, this is.
Yeah, I really like it. I really like what they did. It takes some challenge. I mean, I'll tell you, I brewed massive amounts of lighter beers. To be able to get something to where it is really light like that
And
is
clear.
almost more challenging, especially if you're going to do it consistently, than it is to kind of brew some of the more caramely kind of colored beers.
Well, it's a nice clear. I can see my hands clearly through this. Which is. I come to understand it's a challenge for a lot of brewers to get something that clear when it comes to actually making stuff, because things naturally want to get cloudy, and it's really easy to get stuff off a little bit and make it cloudy. But this is a good beer, and this is honestly, I think it's an excellent summer beer, really.
Yeah. It renews a lot of my interest in blonde ales generally as a good summer beer. Normally I'm a big hefty person. I'm going to lean towards something like that during the summer. Really enjoyable. It's light. It's refreshing. It's fresh. I think a lot of that is because of them coming out of a can. And I know a lot of us purists, we really love the bottles, but
I like the cans better most of the time myself.
when you talk about pure just trying to keep freshness, coming out of a can is going to be much better. So they really come through on this. Kudos to them. So they've done a fantastic job. What do you think?
What do I think? I think it's an excellent product. Honestly, I like it. When it comes to rating this, I mean, you don't get much on the lacing for the presentation. The smell is really good. The flavor is really good. The head on it's pretty decent. I honestly, the fact that it's nice and clear and it's got a really nice color, as far as presentation is concerned, going to be pretty generous with this. I'm going to give it an 8.5. What do you think, Dave?
Yeah, no, I think I'm right in that same range. I'm going to go with an 8 on it. I think that they've done a great job on it. The smell is really good. It's refreshing. It's not the blonde is not
It's not
designed to be something that is
in your
like
face.
an over the top, in your face kind of beer. So I think what they've done to it, which is create a really pleasant smell coming off of it. It had a great kind of moussey little head to it when we first poured it off. It poured off really clean and clear. Great presentation to it. I really like it.
All right. As far as the taste is concerned, I gotta be honest, I am biased towards blondes because I've had some incredible blondes, and I don't think I've had one that I didn't like.
Are we talking about your girlfriends?
No.
Okay.
We've been over this. I'm a brunette guy. As far as the taste is concerned, I'm gonna give this guy. I'm gonna give him an 8. I mean, it could be a whole lot of other things. They could do this. They could do that. But as far as I'm concerned, they pretty much hit what their target was. I've just had beers that I liked better, but I'm satisfied with this beer. This is a no complaints beer for me. What about you?
Yeah, so I think from a taste standpoint, I'm going to probably give it a 7. And I'm certainly not going under you for any reason, but it's a little bit probably just more outside of my personal preference. With my experience with blonde ales is fairly limited. It's a good, refreshing beer.
Yeah.
I think it's a great, great beer to drink. I honestly think they're doing a fantastic job with it. I like the bitterness, the little bit of bitterness to it. So the little bit higher IBUs on that scale, I think, is good.
Yeah, the
5.4
bittering,
ABV as well. They're not shorting you on the alcohol kind of content, which
and
is
it's not hot.
a problem. Yeah, it's not hot. It's well brewed.
I-
Good taste to it.
I think they got the IBUs dialed in actually for what they want. I think they did a very good job.
Yeah, very refreshing. I could certainly have a few of these, be happy with it. Though it's going to be more of a, it's hot out, need something refreshing, or something to kind of mix it up a little bit, especially if you're drinking some of these more complex beers and you just kind of want something to kind of reset your palate. This is a good beer for that. But it's not anything from a taste standpoint that's really over the top. And I think some of those over the top beers are a little bit more in.
Well, you look for that
character.
more in general anyway.
Yeah.
What do you think of the overall impression on your beer?
Overall impression, I like it. I think they're doing a fantastic job. I'm going to do a 7.5 on the overall impression. I think they're doing a great job with making this beer. It is a very popular beer, especially if you're running a brew pub. I don't know if they're doing a brew pub, but usually you get a brew pub.
Blondes are popular in brew pubs.
You're going to have a handful of people who are going to come in. They're used to drinking Budweiser, Coors, one of those kind of beers.
Stella, Shock Top.
Yeah, and they're going to go.
This would be an excellent replacement for any of those.
Yeah, and they're going to want something. I think, and this is not only just replacement. I think it's a much better beer than those, but it's going to be more suited to their palates, because their palates are going to be blown away with something that's a little bit more complex. While something like this, they would really, really appreciate it because it's going to be a step above what they're used to, but very similar to what you're used to. So I like overall, I like it. I think they're doing great in 7.5. Personal preference, it's not a huge preference of mine from a style standpoint. And like I said, I look for something different, so I'm going to give it more like a 5. So I think they're doing really well with it. And a 5 is really just giving it that my personal preference, my choice of the beers that I look to drink. This is just not the kind of style that I lean towards, even though I think they're doing a really good job with it.
Well, there are a lot of beers, personally, that you'd probably take this over.
Mm-hmm.
So, with myself, with the overall impression, I'm going to be about an 8 on that one. I think the presentation was great. The taste is great. The clarity is really nice. I actually do enjoy that feature in beer. And as far as my personal preference, I'm going to be at a 7.5. And the reason I'm at a 7.5 is because if it's something I find at the pub or the bar, am I going to drink it? No question. There's a whole world of beers that I would pass to have this. If I'm hitting the store and finding stuff, I'll definitely pick this up if it's an option. I'll definitely do that again, but there's just, there's some beers out there that I personally prefer over this beer, but it's nothing to take away from this beer. Like I said, if this was on tap at my local bar or my local pub and I'm there with people, I find myself drinking this all night. I mean,
Yeah, I really like the balance to it. It has that bitterness to it, but it's not overly bitter.
if you want to dial it back from your IPA or American Pale Ale or what have you, this would be a great option to go with.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, definitely dialed back from that aspect, but still maintaining some hoppiness to it
and some good flavor.
and good
There's more
flavor. Yeah.
flavor, on the back end and there in the beer initially. It's an excellent product. I have to say they did a very good job on this one. But with that said, please like, subscribe, share, all that happy crap, and let us know what you think of the beer.
Yeah, we'd love to hear your opinions. You might have to do a little searching to kind of find it. Obviously, their distribution is more in that
Northwest area.
northwest kind of area. But if you're up in those areas, get a chance to taste it. Get a chance to check them out as a company and support your local breweries. So
Yeah.
we love that.
Cheers.
Cheers.